right, well, it's 3:30. I will go ahead and kick us off. Thank you so much for joining this section or this session, Building and Deepening Partnerships. I'm super excited about our presenter during this session, Olivia McCuskey from Education Alliance. I had the opportunity to meet Olivia while we were negotiating an MOU between Education Alliance and the First Two Network. And she's just a really cool person, and I know that you're going to get a lot out of what she has to say. So with that, I'm going to read you her bio, and then the floor will be all hers. Olivia McCuskey joined the Education Alliance in August of 2019 as the Director of Strategic Engagement. In her role, Olivia works to develop, cultivate, and strengthen the Alliance's relationships with business, education, and community stakeholders throughout the state to actively engage them as partners in the organization's work. She also assists with several of the Alliance's programs, including West Virginia Ready Graduate. Prior to joining the Education Alliance, Olivia spent 4 years with Inspire US, a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that worked with high school students on peer-led civic engagement efforts through voter registration, voter participation, and voter engagement. She was the regional manager with the Inspire West Virginia program for 3 years before joining the Inspire US national team as the national program manager. Olivia is a West Virginia native and grew up in St. Albans. She currently resides in South Charleston. Olivia attended Ohio University on a full athletic scholarship as a member of the Ohio University women's basketball team and earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in anthropology with a minor in history in May of 2014. Without any further ado, I would like to present to you all Olivia McCuskey.
Thank you so much, Jade. And that was a really fancy bio, but just a fancy way of saying that I'm really privileged to get to work with students like you all and also help bring business and community support through programs and resources like the West Virginia Ready Graduate Program that I'm going to talk with you about today to public high schools all over West Virginia. And Sean, if you wouldn't mind going ahead and bringing up the PowerPoint. All right, fantastic. So like Jade mentioned, my name is Olivia McCuskey. I am with the Education Alliance, and today I'm going to be talking with you about our West Virginia Ready Graduate Program. And Sean, you can go ahead to the next slide, please. And just a little bit about the Education Alliance before I get into the program. The Education Alliance, we're a statewide nonprofit that was established in 1983. So we've been around for quite a while and have a long history of working with business and community members to bring resources to public schools. And our main goal and mission is to advocate to bring a quality public education to all West Virginia students. And we do that by helping to bridge the gap between what students and schools need and what business and community leaders need, and kind of bringing those two together. And our overall goal and hope is that every student will graduate high school ready for success in whatever pathway that might be, whether that's college, the military, entering the workforce, a certificate program. We just want to make sure high school students graduate ready for success and they're excited to begin the next phase of their lives. And Sean, you can kind of go to the next slide if you don't mind. So when you think about the next phase of your life, and I know when you saw the information about what this presentation was going to be about, you might have been thinking, I'm not sure if this is geared towards students. But really, this is the perfect presentation if you're a student, because it helps you kind of gather some ideas about what a good pathway might be for you. And, you know, we kind of threw around this question back in 2018 of whether, West Virginia needed more jobs or did it need a more ready workforce? And Sean, you can click ahead if you don't mind. There's a cute little picture. Kind of that old adage and that old joke of what comes first, the chicken or the egg. So what comes first? Do we need jobs or do we need a workforce? And Sean, you can go ahead and click ahead. And, kind of as we began talking to not only business and community members, but also students and teachers and educators, it became clear to us that, we need to work on both at the same time. not only do we need to make jobs available and have different employment opportunities available to the citizens of West Virginia, but we also need to make sure that students are graduating high school prepared for what those career opportunities might be, and also help students and educators know where these opportunities might be in West Virginia. And Sean, you can go ahead and click ahead for me. All right. So as we were talking with some of our educators and community leaders, we started throwing around this idea that there are certain skills, characteristics, and knowledge that students need to have when they graduate high school to become ready for the workforce. And one of the things that we really talked about is, and I'm sure you all have recognized this even just in your own schooling experience, the skills that you need today are vastly different than were needed when you graduated high school, even 10 years ago, much less 15, 20, 25 years ago, when a lot of your teachers probably graduated high school, probably some even before that. And so we really wanted to create a list for students and educators of what career opportunities and what jobs are looking for when they look to hire someone. And this is where this West Virginia Ready graduate profile came into play. You can see here that this is a list of knowledge, skills, and characteristics. And we actually gathered together a group of business leaders, community leaders, students, and educators from across West Virginia. It was a big deal. It was this, big 3-day conference session where everyone got together and kind of talked through what are the most important things that students need to have before they graduate. And this was the list that they came up with. And, you can see under the knowledge, it's very essential knowledges like arts, social studies, reading and math, financial literacy, some things you gain really just by doing your general studies and general classes in high school. But then as you can see over there on the right of your screen with the skills and characteristics, it's a lot of things that you wouldn't necessarily learn in the classroom from a textbook. You can see verbal and nonverbal communication, teamwork, habits of wellness, self-aware and confident, just a lot of different characteristics that you may not gain just by sitting in a classroom reading out of a textbook. And kind of wanted to do a little breakout room with you, if you will. So I want to give you just a moment before we enter our breakout room. And if you could just look at this list and pick out one skill or characteristic that you feel like has helped you in your life thus far. If you've entered your career or you have a job right now, maybe pick out something that you've learned from your job or that you had coming into your career or job that's really helped you adapt. If you're in high school or college and maybe not in a job yet, just pick out something that's helped you with school, or if you play sports, or if you're in the band or anything like that. Go ahead and pick out a skill or characteristic. And as we enter the breakout room, I would like you to discuss this with those in your breakout room, how this skill or characteristic has helped you, and then also pick out one skill or characteristic that you'd like to learn and cultivate over the next several months. So we'll give it just a little bit of time for you to pick one, and then Sean, we can go ahead into our first breakout room.
All right, looks like everyone's back.
Okay, awesome. Thanks so much. So with that, I know we talked a little bit in our groups about picking a characteristic that was helpful and beneficial to you either throughout your career or throughout your schooling. I'm going to ask each of our groups, if you don't mind, to kind of share out some of the things you all talked about, but I will go first on what really helped me. As Jade mentioned in my bio, I was a college athlete. I played basketball. And one of the things that really helped me and shaped not only my college career, but it's really paid off throughout my career, just, in the workforce and in the different jobs that I've had, is a strong work ethic and perseverance. It just really, one, it took a lot to get a scholarship, and I had to do a lot of hard work, perseverance, and just, practicing a lot on my own to get the skills to actually get a scholarship. And then once I got to college, one of the biggest things I realized was I finally had to try at school for once. I really had to buckle down and have a strong work ethic and make sure that all of my assignments were turned in on time and just make sure I was on top of everything with the crazy schedule we had. And as I've gone throughout my career, that's really paid off as well, just making sure that I'm working hard on all the programs that I'm running and making sure that everyone is getting the most out of the programs as well through that perseverance. So now I'm going to open it up to y'all. And I think after this, some of us may be dropping off, but if each of our groups could take a turn and your leaders share out some of the things you talked about, I'm going to pick on Aubrey, who is in my group first. Aubrey, if you wouldn't mind starting us out.
Yeah, so I talked about how I've been developing like leadership skills recently, but even going back to like high school, being like a section leader in band, learning how to just lead different types of groups. And then I was a presidential student ambassador this year, and I took a class on it. So learning how to lead different types of groups, learning leadership skills in like a broad sense, and then very specific circumstances.
Awesome. Yeah, that's wonderful. All right. What about one of our other breakout rooms? Will someone volunteer, or do I need to pick on someone?
I can go. So we basically talked about how perseverance basically got us through. So being able to like stick on track, and whenever you get down low, say that you get a bad test or something, you're able to build yourself back up, gain that confidence back. So it would probably go along like confidence and perseverance. Perseverance helps if we have a fluctuating confidence, then we're able to use our perseverance to then grow our confidence, or to grow our confidence. So
yeah, I love that. That's actually, I'd never thought of that, using perseverance to grow your confidence, but that's fantastic. I definitely agree with that. Thank you so much. And I see we have a lot of people who are in band. That's awesome. I wish I could play a musical instrument. All right, anyone else? I know y'all have to hop off soon, but I would love if one other person could share for me.
I can go. Our group kind of had like a different variety of like what they felt like worked for them. Like for me, like organization was like my biggest thing, but for other people in the group, like it was something different. But we said that one thing that we wanted to work on the most was like teamwork or like communication skills. I feel like the pandemic and everything kind of like shed light on areas that we were lacking in.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Yeah, I think we have a couple other mentioning verbal and nonverbal communication as well. I love how you mentioned organization. Our organization just as a whole kind of went through that as well during the pandemic when we switched to virtual really quickly. It was so different. If you have someone down the hall, if you have a question to ask or need to get on the same page, you can just go down the hall and ask them. Whereas, if everyone's virtual, working online, like you mentioned, organizational skills are big, learning how to communicate more effectively. So I loved all of those things you just mentioned. All right, yeah, I see a lot of great answers coming through the chat. Communication skills, organization. Yeah, wonderful. Teamwork. All right, awesome. Well, thank you all so much for sharing. I really appreciate that. And let's see here, Jade, I'm not sure if most of our attendees dropping off at this point, or how are we moving forward?
Yes, I think the students have to go to another meeting, and we will just forge ahead with those who are still here and have the time to stick with you.
Olivia,
Sounds
on
great.
behalf
Well, students,
of our student group, I'd really like to say a huge thank you, and thank you for your grace in understanding that we need a little bit more time to prepare our presentation tomorrow. We do hope you'll come. We'll excuse you if you duck out after the first portion, but we do extend huge invitation to you to partner with us next year if you'd like our group of folks to be sharing more of your opportunities for high school students, or giving you some input about what they wish they'd had in high school. We'd welcome you to our student leadership meetings for our state.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much, Joanna. No problem. Hope your presentation goes well.
Thank you so much.
All right. So let's go ahead to the next slide, if you don't mind, Sean. I already talked about strong work ethic and perseverance. And so now moving forward, one of the things that our leadership team who worked with the West Virginia Ready Graduate Profile, they developed this awesome profile, and it was this great list of skills and characteristics that they wanted students to have prior to leaving high school, and this great list. But then what do you do with that list? And that was where they really wanted to help students find a tangible way to cultivate some of these skills. And as they were thinking about that, one of the things that they were interested in is what were some of the top career influencers for students? Was it their parents? Was it teachers? Was it counselors? And if you don't mind, just humor me, what do you think is the top career influencer for a high school student? If you want to just type it in the chat box, I'll give you a couple minutes to type that in. I see parents coming through, teachers. Very good. Give it a little bit more time. Teachers, peers. Okay, great. Yeah, these are all great answers. And honestly, I thought the same thing before we really started researching this. And Sean, if you want to go ahead to the next slide. Actually, the top influence on future career pathways is actually your own interests and experiences. You can see over there on the left, and it's by a landslide that, this is the top influence on high school students is their own experiences at 64%. It's huge. I know, very unexpected. I was actually shocked when we did this research as well. But when you look at what high school students are actually exposed to, only 7% of high school students are given an internship opportunity. And a lot of those are CTE students. So it's not a very big percentage. And that's where, we kind of see this huge gap on, career influencing and what students are actually able to do in high school. And, this was kind of building the case for our next steps of, what to do with this West Virginia Ready Graduate Profile. And Sean, you can go ahead to the next slide. CTE is career and technical education. So those are like your Ben Franklin schools where they actually get welding experience or electrical experience. It's kind of more that traditional apprenticeship programs that you think about. And so our business and community leaders, educators, and students, they kind of took all this information, the research that we did about what were the top career influencers for high school students, this awesome list of career readiness skills that they developed, and they thought about internships. And when you think about internships, you typically think of college, right? When I was, in high school, there wasn't really internship opportunities available. They was more so geared towards college students. But internships are super important, and we want to focus on high school students because not everyone goes to college. A lot of students, they either enter the military or they directly enter the workforce. They may go to a two-year school. Honestly, a small percentage of high school students go to college. So it's really important to catch these students in high school prior to graduating so they have a better idea of what they want to do. And here's some of the benefits of internships. Number one is recruiting. It allows employers to meet students before they begin the job hunting process or before they begin their degree. Even if you're a college student, you often just pick a degree based on, your interest or what you think you like or what you think will make money, honestly. And then a lot of times you go into it and you realize you don't necessarily enjoy what your degree is. A personal example of mine, Jade mentioned I was an anthropology major. I loved Laura Croft and I thought Tomb Raider was awesome. And so I wanted to be an archaeology student. So I actually went, and one summer I did a dig site for an archaeological site, and I had a great time, learned a lot. Also realized I did not want to be an archaeologist. It was a lot of backbreaking work, and I decided that was not for me. So we really wanted to give these students an opportunity to see what these opportunities are like prior to high school, so they don't wait until they're 3/4 of the way through their degree. Number 2 is industry interest. Oh, sorry, Sean. One of the main things that the kind of gap between educators and schools and also industry leaders is the lack of knowledge on where career opportunities are. Students and educators a lot of times aren't sure where the current job opportunities lie, just because they don't necessarily communicate with the employers on a direct level. So this allows students to see what job opportunities are available to them. 3 is retention. There's actually studies that prove that if you have internship experience at a company, that company's employees have a greater retention rate because they already know going into their job what it's like working for that company, and they realize that they enjoy it. It's a good company to work for, and that employer retains more of its employees because of that. And number 4 is culture change. This is something that we actually saw directly with the internship opportunity I'm going to tell you about in a moment. Not only is it's a two-way street really for employees and for interns. For interns, of course, they learned about career skills and the opportunities that are available to them. They receive job shadowing and training. And then on the other end, the employees actually learn things from the interns. Social media tips, things like that. But then also it gives the employees a chance to gain teaching skills, they gain supervisor skills, and just various things like that, that unless they had some of these high school interns, they wouldn't necessarily have that opportunity to gain. And Sean, now we can go ahead to the next one. And so this brings me to our actual West Virginia Ready internship program. So our leadership board that developed that West Virginia Ready graduate profile took that list and decided that it would be a wonderful opportunity to create a summer internship program for high school students. So we actually began in 2019. It was a paid 4-week, 40-hour-a-week summer internship program for rising juniors and seniors in high school. And we had 3 partners. You can see here, Toyota Motor Manufacturing, West Virginia, located in Buffalo, West Virginia, Appalachian Power, and Cabell Huntington Hospital in Huntington. And we had 10 students from, I think it was 6 high schools in the Kanawha Valley, and they actually went to work for these 3 businesses for 4 weeks in the summer. And it was an amazing experience for the students. They really gained a lot from it. And if you can go to the next slide, if you don't mind, Sean, you can click ahead for me. So in 2019, we had our first experience, as I mentioned. It was a 4-week, 40-hour-a-week summer internship. They got on-site work experience. And the second main component of it was this capstone project and mentoring aspect. At the end of the 4 weeks, each of the interns were responsible for presenting a capstone project on what they had learned throughout that 4 weeks. And then throughout the entire 4-week process, they received mentoring from the business leaders that they were working with. It was really invaluable for the students, and that was one of the biggest pieces of feedback we received from the students after that summer, was just how much that mentoring aspect had impacted them in a positive way. And then moving on to 2020, we were super excited to gear up for our second summer internship experience. It was going to be in person. We were up to 10 businesses, and then COVID hit, as I'm sure everyone is super familiar with. And but we pivoted really quickly, and we actually transitioned it to be a virtual internship program. It was a 4-week experience in the summer, and these students we kind of really transitioned this program, and there were 2 main components still. So the first piece was this what we called training modules. And every week on Monday, the students from all the different businesses would get on and receive a training module where they would learn a West Virginia Ready skill, as I mentioned earlier on that graduate profile. And these were actual HR modules that the participating businesses had developed, and they actually give to their current employees. And these students actually went through some of these HR modules and developed these skills that we had discussed earlier, like teamwork and collaboration, perseverance and grit. Diversity and inclusion was another really good one that we had last summer. And then the second piece of the internship was this capstone project and mentoring portion that I mentioned. And I saw a question come through in the chat about what the mentoring process looked like. And it's actually transitioned throughout the last several years. For the first year with the in-person 4-week summer internship, the mentoring kind of happened organically, if you will, just as the students were working with the employees on a day-to-day basis. You know, they would bring the students along and kind of talk to them about career pathways and ask them questions, and the students would ask them questions. So it was really an organic process of mentoring. As we transitioned to the virtual aspect, we didn't want to lose that mentoring aspect and really tried to build it into that 4-week experience, even though it was virtual. So how we worked around that is we set up a weekly one-on-one call between an intern and their matched business mentor, and they got on every week for 15 to 20 minutes, and they discussed career opportunities, what they were learning about that week at their internship, what some of their next steps should be after the internship program. We had a template that they worked off every week, but some of it did happen organically. So that was just a set time every week where they were dedicated to just talking about career opportunities and career pathways with their mentor. And the other component of this was that capstone project I mentioned earlier. And we had to kind of tweak it from our first experience of in-person, and how we worked around it with the virtual internship is each business gave the students a problem that they were having at their company. Just to give you an example, Toyota, they actually had to build masks for all of their employees to wear during COVID protocols. And the students who were matched with Toyota for their internship, they actually learned how to build a virtual assembly line to create the masks. So students, they were shipped all of the materials that they needed to build the masks, and the students actually took the Toyota way, and they actually took some of the charts and graphs that Toyota employees use to build their assembly lines for transmissions, and they built an assembly line for masks. And it was all done virtually. They had to time each other virtually. I mean, it was really incredible what they were able to do. And so at the end of the 4 weeks, they presented and told how their assembly line worked. They have what's called Kaizens at Toyota, and this is just continuous improvement. So as they worked through their assembly line process, they had to come up with Kaizens on how to make the assembly line process more efficient and also more effective for their employees. So that was how we transitioned for the virtual internships. And then moving forward to currently, we are closing up with our pilot program for the virtual work-based learning internships that actually are happening in schools as a class. So one of the biggest pieces that we realized by doing the virtual internships was that it removed a lot of the barriers for students. So, you know, when you have in the 2019 summer internship program, students had to be responsible for transportation to the internship every single day. And if you live in a more rural area that doesn't have a big business like Toyota in your backyard, you may not get a really good internship experience. You may not have that big corporation that you can drive to easily for an internship. So by doing it virtually, you remove a lot of these barriers. Students don't have to have a car or transportation to the internship every day. You know, they can be in a more rural area and have a wonderful, amazing internship with a big company like Toyota. We actually had a student last summer intern with Toyota from Taylor County up in the northern portion of the state. If that was an in-person experience, that would have never been able to happen. So as we kind of took all of those pieces of feedback, as we moved into 2021, we actually created a work-based learning course that had county standards. Students received high school graduation credit for this course. A teacher facilitated the class, and it was a semester-long course where students had these job shadowing and training options, as well as the capstone project and mentoring sessions. And let me pause real quick and just address any questions that I might have in the chat. And I see a question about the modules and the internship sites. Okay, great. So Sean, if you don't mind, if you can go back for me real quickly. So as I mentioned earlier, we still have the two main components, the job shadowing and training modules and the capstone project and mentoring. And as you can see here, it's been pretty consistent throughout the 3 years, but we've just kind of tweaked it every year based on the model that we're using. And Sean, you can go ahead to the next slide now. And one of the biggest pieces of feedback that we received after the virtual internship program is that, you know, they loved the training modules because they were able to cultivate some of these skills from the graduate profile that were necessary, but they wish they would have had more job shadowing experience or like a virtual tour of the company that they would have gotten if they would have done an in-person experience. So we took that piece of feedback and we kind of tweaked the training modules to adjust to that. So every Monday morning throughout the entire semester, students from each of our participating high schools would log on for this job shadowing training module. The first 30 minutes of it were a virtual tour of the business. They kind of got to virtually job shadow some of the employees, learn about the career opportunities and what a day in the life of an employee at that company would look like. This is a screenshot from our Toyota training module. You can see here students actually watched a video of how the transmissions are built at the Toyota Buffalo plant. And they kind of got a virtual tour that you actually wouldn't get to see. I've actually never seen any of this in person. You would only see this if you're an employee at the plant. So it was really cool that they got to have a behind the scenes look and really get a feel for what working at Toyota would be like. I think you can move forward. And then the second main thing that this weekly training module did is it incorporated that West Virginia Ready skill or characteristic, or that HR module that the company really specializes in. And Toyota specializes in teamwork and collaboration. That's one of the biggest things that they stress as part of the Toyota culture. It's all about the team, making sure that your team members are happy and satisfied and that the team is working as a unit. And so that is the skill that Toyota taught during their training module this past semester. And you can go forward, Sean. You can see here Mike Smith up at the top right of your screen. He is the actual Toyota employee that facilitated the training module with our students. And he talked about the Toyota Mendomi progression. And this is just basically making sure that Toyota employees build relationships with each other, and that way they can function most effectively as a team. Everyone's happy and satisfied, and just the team functions as a unit. So just they talked about different ways that you can help develop some of this teamwork and collaboration. And they actually have a skill activity where you can help cultivate some of these skills and characteristics, as well as you can virtually, of course. And if you move forward. Oh, and this is actually, I think, a live.
Oh, it is.
I'm
Were
not
you
sure if
all
you'll be
able to
able to-
hear? I
No.
can probably get that going. Sorry, everyone. Just
Okay.
give me one moment. I'm going to stop sharing real quick and try to get make sure that it has sound with it. All right. I'll check the chat. If it is too loud, someone please say something so I don't ruin your ears.
Question is, have you ever had a situation where you've completed a math problem, you got the right answer, but the teacher still marked it wrong and said, show your work? If you haven't had that, but why do you think the teacher marked it wrong and stated that?
I have had it happen.
So have I.
A lot of it is they want to know how you did it. Like in the workplace, you can't just come up with this because you need other people to be able to follow you and know what you did so they can do it too.
That is an excellent, excellent answer. Yeah, you may be able to get lucky and get that right answer, or you may have kind of peeked over, which is an absolute no-no on someone else's paper. But do you understand how you got that answer?
Yeah, and
Okay,
if you don't understand it, you can't help someone else understand how to do it either.
that's right. So let's just say, and what was your name again?
Peyton.
Peyton. Let's just say you got the right answer, and I said, hey, that's great. Can you tutor the rest of the students on how to get that right answer when you guessed or you're not sure how to do it? What would you think?
Well, I mean, I would have to be honest with it that I didn't know what I was doing because
Yes.
that just creates complete chaos when you wing it. Somebody else has to do what you just tried to do.
Exactly. So it's very important that the key teaching point here is not only to focus on results, but the process you go through to get those and achieve those good results. And that hits right on the spot you said, as far as being able to share that among different areas in the plants and also with other Toyota motor companies. So we can share best practices.
As you can hear from the video, I mean, there's just nothing like actually hearing what I'm describing, but it's just such a unique experience for the students because they're actually interacting with a live Toyota employee. This is an HR module that Mike gives to new employees as they come into the plan, and he engages with them back and forth and really asks them questions to kind of get their mind thinking about how to use this in their daily life. So it's just a really unique experience as a class for a student. You can move forward.
The question is, have you ever had a situation where you've completed a math problem, you got the right answer?
There we go. And another great example of this job shadowing training module, you just saw the Toyota piece for the job shadow training module, and they're a bigger corporation. They're a well-oiled machine. They have, plants all over the world. But we also didn't gear it just towards big corporations. Shenandoah Planing Mill, it is a small father-daughter owned woodworking mill up in the Eastern Panhandle, very small business, but they presented on the growth mindset. And it was just so unique for the students to get, Toyota was the first week, Shenandoah Planing Mills was the second week. And the students actually got to have some behind the scenes look at what it's like to work in a planing mill. It was really cool. We kind of felt like we were on HGTV watching one of those home improvement shows. And Sean, you can go ahead to the next one. As you can see here, they also talked about some of the jobs that they have, some of the work that they do, just really beautiful work. And it was just a unique experience for them to hear kind of how they worked as well. And you can go ahead and move forward. And what they talked about is the growth mindset, which is ready to learn, fail, and improve, and just how, as an entrepreneur and as a small business, you need to really have that growth mindset of always being ready to learn, fail, and improve. That way, you can always, move forward and grow as a business. And, you can take each failure as a learning opportunity and really use that to succeed in the future. And you can move forward. And I'm not sure if this video will work or not, but it was really unique what the Amanda McDaniel, she is the daughter portion of Shenandoah Planing Mills, but she had each of her employees actually go around and talk about one failure that they've had as their time during an employee and how they've grown from that. And it was really cool to hear how each of the employees had really kind of some catastrophic failures as they were employees at Shenandoah Planing Mills, but how they've grown from that and how they've learned from their mistakes. And it's really helped them kind of fine tune their processes as a small business. And you can move forward, Sean.
I'm sorry, did I
All
get too
right.
far?
No, this is perfect. And so one of the main pieces that has made this actual course unique for the schools that we are working with is the learning management system that we're using. There are several different learning management systems, but Schoology is the one that we've been utilizing and the one that I think a lot of counties are most familiar with. And I'm sure if you're a student or if you have students, you're probably sick of hearing about Schoology at this point in the pandemic. But we actually created a Schoology course for this work-based learning internship course. And any teacher that was working with us, we added to it. And you can see there over on the left, we have information about what the course is, what the different job shadow training modules mean, internship and capstone projects. And then over on the right, you'll see our different folders for the schedule for the entire semester. So orientation, we have a folder for mentoring and capstone schools. And then you can see, starting with Toyota and moving down to Shenandoah Planning, Bowles Rice, this was every single business that did a training module with us. So we had an abundance of industries represented, obviously Toyota with manufacturing, Shenandoah Planning also manufacturing, Bowles Rice, which is a law firm. We have financial literacy with BB&T, a bank, healthcare, CAMC. So students really got the full experience of learning different career opportunities throughout the semester. And you can move forward. And it was really unique because, as I'm sure you can guess, it's hard to get all schools who are working with us on this program on at the same time for the training modules every week. So we had a standing meeting every Monday, 9:45 to 10:45, and as many schools that could join live joined and got to interact live with the different business leader who was facilitating that week. But if a school missed the live training module, that was no problem. We recorded the training module and actually broke it down into 4 or 5 bite-sized videos that the teacher facilitating the class could then go back the next day and watch these videos with the students. And that way they didn't miss any of the weeks. Additionally, if a teacher wanted to go back and really emphasize a point or emphasize a skill that a business had facilitated the day prior, they could go back in and just watch that one particular point in the training module and really hone in on that characteristic. And let me pause. I think I see a question come in. How did I choose interns? Okay, that's a great question. So if we'll move forward, I will talk about that in just a moment. Go ahead and click forward if you don't mind, Sean. Okay, so there is a video that I think there's a video for this that I will have Sean play in a moment, but I just wanted to answer the question about how we chose internship sites and if students were offered a choice for their internships. That is one of the biggest differences between the summer internship experience that we offer and the class for graduation credit that we offer during the school year. For summer internships, students can apply to any internship opportunity available, provided that they have transportation to and from every day. So kind of the only limiting factor on if you can apply to an internship is if you can drive there every day for work. So it's probably not a great idea to apply for an internship opportunity in Huntington if you live in Morgantown. But for the in-school opportunity that we piloted this past semester, we actually matched a business with one school for the duration of the semester for the capstone and mentoring portion of it. And this was based on a variety of factors. One, if a business who was willing to participate in the entire program and offer internships for the capstone project and mentoring, if they had a specific area in mind that they wanted to focus on. For example, Appalachian Power wanted to focus their internship opportunity on their service area. We tried to take that into consideration when we matched a school to a business. So with that being said, students didn't necessarily have a choice for which internship they applied for. However, one of the ways we worked around that is regardless of which one they were matched for their internship for capstone and mentoring, they did hear from all 13 businesses throughout the semester and got to hear some career opportunities related to all of the different industries. And so on your screen here, you'll see this is the Appalachian Power and Herbert Hoover mentoring call. They are actually working to, they're actually working on their capstone project, and their capstone project was super cool. They actually just presented it this morning, and it was how to bring electricity and a power line to a new residential building. So they actually had to map out you know, all the different poles and wires they need to bring power to a new building that does not have power whatsoever. And I think this is a video, Sean, so you should be able to play it. And this is part of their call.
Oh, it looks like it's an image of a video.
Oh, no problem. I couldn't remember which one I put in there. But essentially, you'll see here, it was really impressive, everything that the students learned this semester. They actually had to do a bunch of calculations. You can see here all of the different calculations that they would have to do. You can move forward. They actually had to calculate rates. One of the most impressive things today during the presentation was hearing how they decided to choose their final design plan. Each of the students came up with a different design plan, and the one that they chose ended up being the most cost effective for both Appalachian Power and the customer. So they actually used these rates to calculate which design plan to choose in the end, which was really impressive. You can go ahead and move forward. Just wanted to show a progression of how we've impacted students and businesses throughout the last 3 years. So like I said earlier, beginning in 2019 with the summer internship on-site work experience, we started with 10 students and 3 counties. Moving last year to the virtual internship program, we were able to offer that to 20 students, again in 3 counties. And then for this current pilot program that we're doing in schools, we offered it to 30 students for the full internship experience where they received the job shadowing and training modules, as well as the capstone project and mentoring sessions. And then 70 additional students were able to experience just the job shadowing and training modules. So we were able to offer that to a lot more students than we would have with a summer internship experience. And again, the real piece that made this unique is the teacher facilitating the course and the learning management system that accompanied it. I really think that was the difference in how the students were able to interact with the businesses, and they were able to do a much deeper dive with the teachers facilitating it. You can move forward. And so this kind of talks about some of the options. As I mentioned earlier, schools, you can either participate in the full program with the 13 job shadowing training modules, a mentoring calls, and the capstone projects, or if a school just kind of wants to dip their toe in and may not have a teacher ready to facilitate the full course, they can just choose 1 to 3 job shadow training modules and implement it into a current class that they already have. And for businesses, they also have these options. So as I mentioned earlier, the bigger corporations like Toyota and Appalachian Power are more likely to be able to have the capacity to offer the full internship program with the 1 training module, the mentoring sessions, and the capstone projects. But we also didn't want to exclude our small West Virginia businesses either, like Shenandoah Planing Mills. They may not have the capacity to take on internships as a small business, but they're still able to contribute by offering that job shadowing training module. And it's very invaluable for students to get to see firsthand how an entrepreneurial business works and what it takes to run it on a day-to-day basis. All right, and just wanted to give a special shout out to both Toyota and the American Electric Power Foundation for making this program possible for our schools and students. And I think now we kind of want to do the next breakout room, Sean. So if we're able to, and what I want to really talk about in this breakout room is, you know, we have several industries that we've talked about, manufacturing, the utilities, and we really focused on kind of the bigger industries in West Virginia, Toyota with manufacturing, Appalachian Power with the Utilities Commission and things like that. And then also we had Cabell Huntington Hospital participate. yeah, we can just do one group discussion. That's totally fine. And you can, if we want, Sean, so we can see everyone, you can stop sharing so that way everyone can see each other and doesn't have to stare at my screen. All right, great. And so what I really wanted to pick your brain on and kind of get your feedback is, one, what other industries do you think would be good for students to gain career awareness prior to high school? I know First 2 Network really focuses on a lot of STEM opportunities, and we really want to work on partnering with you all on creating more of these opportunities for students. So that way, you know, they're getting some of these ideas in high school, and then they can move on and have those next opportunities in college with organizations like First 2. And then how do we help kind of bridge the gap between, okay, we have teachers and counselors directly offering these classes and opportunities to students in high school. How do we really help these students once they leave high school find these opportunities like First 2 once they graduate? So I would love to kind of have a group discussion about that.
Well, I'll just jump in because I'm really excited about these questions you asked. So the first thing that jumped out at me was you guys have a really good relationship with teachers and counselors in high schools. And I think First 2 Network would really benefit from having a stronger connection there so that we can easily transition the students who are interested in STEM, who take advantage of like the Appalachian Power Company utility internship and the Toyota manufacturing internship. We could funnel them right into the First 2 Network and get them involved in an immersive experience in the summer of their freshman year. So that was the first thing that I wanted to say. If we could be more engaged with the work that you're doing in the high schools in terms of teacher and counselor engagement, I think that would really be a great connector for Education Alliance and First 2.
Oh, I'm muted. Yeah, I think that's a great point, Jade. And that is one thing we're really blessed with, is having those close relationships. So I do think kind of bridging the gap would be very beneficial for both you all and us, and then most importantly, the students.
This is Sarah Riley, and I'll jump in here because I think this question really gets to a place that is deeply, deeply broken, that we're going to have to really work together across these different like age gaps and silos to start to make a system that we can educate that all the way back. I mean, like, you know, for the rest of you on the call, I'm a First 2 PI. I'm the executive director of HIRAC. Like, this is stuff I've worked on for the last 25 years. I'm currently the parent of a high school junior and a high school senior, both of who want to do STEM. I live in Pocahontas County, and like, I can't even find the resources to advise them about that pathway all the way through. Like, I honestly can't. And so trying to do the best that we can across those things. But I think we should make an initiative and try to find some support to work on an initiative to connect from middle school, high school. So I see middle school as a place where most kids are deciding whether or not they're probably going to have a STEM career. High school, where they're deciding what they're going to do and where they're deciding what they're going to study, and they have this incredible pressure to fill out college applications and declare their major when they've mostly been not exposed to anything that has to do very much with any of their majors. And then kids that are in college trying to figure out what they're going to do next. And then our workforce partners reaching back saying, hey, we can't fill these, and we keep hiring people that aren't from West Virginia, and they don't stay, and they don't have the same kind of retention rates. And so I think we need to bring together, and there isn't something that already exists that does this. So I know I think that this group of people is well positioned to help move the work forward across those different conversations that actually creates a clear pathway that people can see about options for middle schoolers, high schoolers, for K-12 teachers, for people when they're in college, and also really for employers. And I think we're going to have to think way outside of the box about how to do that. But I think it's really important, and I'm glad to have the Education Alliance at the table with First 2 Network to start to think together about how we can do that. So I have no answers except for it's really important and we should work on it.
Yeah, and I loved what you said about middle school. That's one thing I think a lot of businesses are starting to focus on is really, you know, trying to plant those seeds in middle school first by just, you know, getting them familiar with their own company. And then some of these high school experiences can be a little deeper to see if it's actually something they're interested in. And I saw in the chat here, Caitlin, consider internships for teaching. Can you mind just talking about that a little bit?
I was thinking that, you know, there is a looming teacher shortage, and the teachers that are right there, the business of teaching, so to speak, is right there. So why aren't we taking advantage of this sort of natural opportunity for older students to shadow master teachers, to practice skills in the classrooms with younger students, to get a behind the curtain kind of view of what teaching looks like?
That's actually a great point. Surprisingly, I'd never thought about teacher internships, but I mean, that is, like you mentioned, a really strong area of workforce shortage that we have in West Virginia and nationally. So that's a great point. I will definitely look into that.
Thank you. And my fee is
reasonable. I'm sorry, what was that?
I said my fee.
You said your fee
is very reasonable.
Well, honey, that's good because we're also a nonprofit.
Right. I understand.
No, I'm just kidding.
I think that the other thing that what Caitlin says really suggests, and this is in my workforce development world, so I'm thinking about workforce development and job placement and the real challenges we're having there with young people in the state of West Virginia, that also really targeting the specific sectors, the specific employers that are looking for opportunities. Like
definitely.
Teacher shortage is a huge one. Wastewater management is a huge one. And especially where those things are coming together with jobs that are helping people have upward mobility for themselves, their communities, and their families.
Yeah, definitely. And that's actually how we have really connected with the businesses who have done the full internship program with us before. So for like Appalachian Power and like American Waters also worked with us. They will be experiencing a lineman or line person shortage, I should say, in the next like 10 to 15 years as people begin to retire. I saw Erica, she asked in here about healthcare internships. We did have some the first summer with Cabell Huntington Hospital, and it was incredible. I mean, they really got an amazing experience. They not only worked on the floor with the nurses, they also went into the accounting department, the HR department. They did, I'm not going to use the right words for this, but the department that actually, prepares the beds and does the laundry. That word is escaping me right now. But with COVID last year, the healthcare industry just didn't have the capacity to support internships. We're hoping in the next, 6 months to a year as kind of COVID settles down, we really hope to bring back that healthcare industry aspect to it. But yeah, that's one of the ways we've recruited businesses to help is we know those industries are going to experience a workforce shortage soon. And so we're really kind of creating that talent pipeline from high school to their workforce. Let's see here. And Erica, I saw you mention that, I think it was Erica mentioned the AIM program through CTC. I'm not sure if I'm familiar with that. I know we've talked with some of the CTC programs about incorporating this, but I'm not super familiar with the AIM program, I don't think.
So Travis came to our industry advisory board meeting, work drop-in yesterday, and he had been involved with First Two a couple years ago in a different capacity, but is now, I don't remember exactly his title, but he's involved in this apprenticeships in motion, which I believe is they have funding to do half the funding for internships, and they're having trouble getting companies to bite on sponsoring the other half. But it's for CTC students. So I think if we worked together, we might be able to get them it feels like there's a lot of synergy there, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I'll have to look into that. That sounds promising. And yeah, I'm sure Amelia might be familiar with that, but I don't think I'm familiar with that. So thank you for that.
I think he's only
Trying
been
to
in that
read
position
some
for a
more.
couple months, 3 or 4 months maybe.
Okay, gotcha. Here. And I see here, I think it was Jade mentioning middle school internship part of it. Yeah, so that is actually a great point, and something we've been throwing around is maybe taking that training module portion and at least doing it in like 9th and 10th grade to give students kind of those career awareness pieces with the training modules to gain skills and also learn about job opportunities, and then perhaps doing the internship portion in 11th and 12th grade. And really the big reason we wait till 11th and 12th grade to do the internships, well, there's 2 main reasons. One, for some of the calculations like you saw with Appalachian Power, it's really best to wait until 11th and 12th grade so students are prepared for some of those things. And then also for the legalities surrounding it, you have to be 16 to have a job. And so that's really when you can begin having internships at 16. And so by 11th and 12th grade, most students are 16. But I love how you're thinking, kind of bringing that career awareness down even into the middle school level. All right, fantastic. And I love some of these industry ideas you're giving me. Are there any other industry ideas? I see Green Bank, which we've actually kind of discussed with them in the past. I think they do mainly college, but we would love to bring them on for high school. Is there any other we can think about?
Well, are you connected with the software industries?
We are not, and that's something, I mean, we are connected, but we have not been able to, kind of form that partnership yet for internships. But I would love if you have any ideas behind that, because we would love to do more IT and software related internships.
The NASA Space Grant Consortium, I believe, has internships that go unfilled or don't get advertised very well for high school students.
Yeah, tried to work with them the first year, and I think they were mainly doing college the first year. And so thank you for reminding me. We do need to reconnect on that. That's a great idea.
That whole IV&V facility, I think, in Fairmont.
Okay, great.
There's also
a great idea.
There's a waste to energy plant called Ensorga in the Eastern Panhandle. It might be.
Oh, how do you spell that? Ensorga?
I think it's ENSORGA. There might be a T in there. Sorry, Sue-Ann.
Okay, great.
I was just saying that the component of your talk when you were speaking about during the academic year and this sort of course for college or for high school graduation, and that the fact that it was virtual lends itself well to having more industries involved, like Green Bank Observatory, who might not be comfortable in sponsoring a high school student to live on campus without parental, supervision or something like that. But would be more than willing to figure out a way to do something like you were talking about for the and to do a job shadow, which could be just a day or so.
That'd be super cool. Yeah. No, that's a great idea. And go ahead.
The chemical industries too, I think too dangerous, but would totally be able to do a thing where there's a video and you get to see behind the scenes. That's then a tool that's used in a whole bunch of places more than the 4 kids who got to go on it, one given year. Yeah,
absolutely. Dow partnered with us for the summer internships last year virtually, and also just did a training module this past semester. And it was, I'm not going to lie, last summer's capstone project, I was like, wow, this is really dense. I'm not sure if these students are going to like it. And they loved it. I was amazed at how much they loved kind of that experience. So that's a great point.
The thing that I put in there is, go ahead.
Sorry, Erica. I was just going to say, I think we're going to have to see about those kinds of opportunities as where virtual goes, paying a lot of attention to our students, because they have had to do virtual and they've tried to make the best of it. But I don't get the sense that middle school, high school, or college students are looking forward to like a lot more virtual opportunities.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. One way we're, and because to be quite honest, I'm also tired of virtual after this last year and a half. But one thing that we are really hoping for as COVID again continues to settle down, because a lot of these schools are really still experiencing a lot of quarantine issues and things like that. But we will probably continue to use some of the virtual internship experiences for the in-school option, just because again, it allows schools like Independence in Raleigh County is working with us right now, and they are actually matched with Toyota in Putnam County. That's like 2 hours away for them, and they would never be able to do that otherwise. But with that being said, we hope to incorporate a blended model where they do primarily all virtual experience, and then maybe 1 to 2 times a month or 1 to 2 times a semester, they go actually in person to their match business for the internship opportunity. And thanks, Sean, for putting my contact information there in the chat box. You all have some great suggestions for me. I've really loved it. I've taken notes on everything you've said, and we'll look to incorporate this. But if any other ideas come to you, or if you have a way that you think it might be good for us to implement something or work with you to get awareness out about this and how to really kind of build that pipeline, like I mentioned earlier, from our high school internship opportunities to the First Two Network and other opportunities like that, feel free to either call me or email me. And I'm happy to talk through that with you. And I've learned a lot today, so I'm really excited to do some more research on some of these businesses.
Sue Ann is talking about our asset mapping project. We did want to mention this to you. We have been working on a STEM database. I think it has the opportunity to have internships in it, to have any kind of resource for STEM that's in our state, physical and virtual. And Sean has been heavily involved in this, Michelle Richards-Babs, who's on the call. And we are at the point of deploying it now. So you can submit entries to it, and there is a draft of the dashboard, the way it will look to people. That's still very much in progress, but we're doing soft testing this summer. So we'd love to have you guys get involved in that and put your stuff in there, and then see what it looks like, what would need to be built out more if you wanted to use it. Do you have a similar thing that you're already using for internship opportunities?
So, I mean, we have, so how we've really gotten the word out about our internship opportunities is really having target counties that we want to work with for these internship opportunities, and then working with either the county board or the principals or the counselors to kind of get students to apply. That's kind of how we've gone about it thus far, because especially for these more in-school experiences, we have to have sign off from the principals and the County Board of Education. But that's a great idea about the asset map. I'll definitely look into that. And you said that was on your website?
It is. It's under resources, so you probably have to join our website to see it all the way. Well, Sean's going to tell us.
No, we changed it so you do not have to. I was going to get you the link in a second.
Okay, great. Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you told me about that. Oh, thanks, Sean. I'm going to go ahead and open that up so I don't lose it. All right, wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for your participation and for listening to me blabber on about my West Virginia Ready Graduate Program. So I really appreciate your time today. And Jade and all the First Two Network, thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Olivia. This has been great. I always love brainstorming with you guys about how we can help our students in West Virginia. I know that's a passion of yours because of the work that you've done in the past and because of what you're doing now. So I cannot thank you enough for being here and for excusing my link mix up.
Oh, it's totally fine.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm putting in the chat a link to a brief survey. Though we're few, I still want to hear you guys' opinions and your thoughts about this session. I think it was great. I loved how the students came in at the beginning and they were very engaging and put their thoughts in the chat. And then I liked how we got to have this time where it was really more geared towards people like us to be in this smaller, more intimate discussion. So I'll just leave a little space for that. I think we'll forego the Visa gift card drawing because everyone is first two here and we want to give it to people who are not first two or who are students.
Right.
Okay. Save it for a
I also just
student.
want to, I don't know if you can tell the students this tomorrow. It sounds like they're going to have another presentation, but just wanted to thank them so much for their participation on during the group session and also in the chat feature. That was honestly the most engaging group of students I've ever worked with, and I've worked with a lot of students. So I just want to thank them so much for their participation and their engagement. That was wonderful.
Thank you. I will be sure to pass that praise along. Thank you. And any opportunity
Wonderful.
that you see for our students to work with you guys and share, because they have a lot to say and they have a lot of good lived experiences that can shape a lot of things for students like them. So if you ever see a fit for them, I'm sure we'd have more than a few students who are willing to weigh in on anything that you guys need.
Absolutely. I'll definitely keep that in mind. We have some opportunities in the future, so I will be sure to keep them in mind.
Good deal. All right. Well, as we're finishing the survey, I guess you can just hop on off whenever you get that done. And I look forward to seeing you guys at 10 a.m. in the morning for day 3. Super excited about tomorrow's session. So get some rest and don't look at a computer screen for the rest of the day so you can be prepared.
Thank you all so much. Everyone have a good evening.
Thanks, Olivia.
Thank you.